Hello and welcome to The Lens with me, Sarah Travers. The Lens is a business in the community podcast in partnership with One Young World. Our guests today are Iain Mansfield, CEO of Principality Building Society, Wales's largest mutual building society headquartered in Cardiff, providing mortgages and savings products and owned by its members rather than shareholders. And joining Iain, we welcome Ronald Mugaiga, Managing Director of Ecomak Recyclers, Uganda, a climate tech Africa-based startup that transforms plastic waste into low-carbon construction materials. Now, in this episode, we'll be discussing responsible transformation with people, planet, and place at the heart of change. So to find out, let's get into the conversation. Iain, Ronald, you're very welcome to The Lens. So absolutely thrilled to have you both here today on The Lens. As we said, we are exploring responsible transformation with people, planet, and places at the heart of our conversation and indeed of that change. So I know our guests are joining us from very different industries and indeed parts of the world. So Iain, if we could start with you, if you could tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, how you've come to be in your role at Principality, and we'd love the elevator pitch for Principality too. I know I teased at it in the introduction. And we also like to find out a little bit about the person behind the job as well. So what do you do when you're not working?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And thanks for the invite and looking forward to the conversation this morning. So yeah, Iain Mansfield, I'm the CEO, or recently appointed CEO of the Principality Building Society, Wales's biggest mutual, the sixth largest in the UK. I guess fundamentally we're here to provide mortgages and savings products. As you alluded to, we are not owned by shareholders, but we're owned by our members, and our members are our savings customers and our mortgage customers. And it means that we're in a unique position to be able to, focus 100% on delivering customer outcomes because they effectively own our business. Our customers are at the heart of what we do. Business is 165 years old, which I have to almost say twice to people. It is 165 years old. That is real. And our business has grown out of Wales, but we are a national player across England and Wales for our mortgages and savings business. We employ about 1,200 people, some based in Wales in our branches and some across the UK. We have got a unique, selling point that in Wales, we are the business, or the financial services business, that has the largest footprint of branches still in the country. So there is no other bank or FS business that has more branches than us. And therefore we are embedded within the communities we operate, which is a big differentiator for Principality. We also have a commercial lending arm. So part of our lending is to commercial businesses, but that predominantly is actually in the social housing sector and in housing associations in Wales. And this year we have made our first step into housing associations into England. So housing associations provide social housing for people to start their housing journey. So quite an important aspect of the overall market with us. I'm Cardiff born and bred. That sounds very uninteresting in some ways, that I'm still sitting in the same place I was born in just 50 years ago. I was at university in London and spent some time in London, but migrated back here. And I'm really pleased to live and work in Cardiff. I'm married with 3 children, and they're 17, 14, and 11. Outside of work, they keep me pretty busy. One interesting fact, Sarah, I've just started in the last couple of years, playing a little bit of tennis. So I've got to that age where I'm trying to do less, more gentle sports. So at the moment, tennis is the thing that I spend a bit of time doing when I'm not trying to spend as much time as I can with my wife and the family.
Lovely. And do you fancy your chances in centre court this year?
Oh, God, no. Not yet. It's really interesting. It's it is quite addictive. It's the reason I quite like it is I've tried to find a sport that would effectively allow me to play for the next, say, 20 years. So low impact, but it's good. It's good exercise and it's relatively quick. So in 90 minutes, you can get it done and dusted and move on to the next thing.
I love that. And I loved the explainer around the business as well. So park those thoughts, Iain, and I'll pick up on some of those in a moment. But let's head to Uganda now and bring in Ronald. Ronald, if you could share a little bit with our listeners today about your background, what's life been like growing up for you, and how did you get to where you are today?
Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ronald Mugaiga, and I'm the Managing Director of Ecomak Recyclers here in Uganda. My background is in environmental systems engineering, and for the past years, I've worked at the intersection of climate resilience, circular economy, and community development. So myself, while growing up and working in Western Uganda, I saw firsthand how plastic waste was overwhelming communities, clogging drainage systems, polluting wetlands, and even being openly banned in communities. So at the same time, most of the youth are really unemployed in these informal communities. So it was at this point that we had Ecomak Recyclers born, specifically in 2020. So what we do at Ecomak Recyclers, we transform plastic waste into low carbon construction materials, turning what is typically seen as a problem into an economic and environmental opportunity. So our model here creates green jobs for youth and women, specifically in waste collection, processing. We also help reduce pollution, and we provide durable alternatives for the construction sector. At the heart of what we do is responsible transformation. So we ensure that environmental solutions also generate livelihoods and strengthen local communities. So for us, myself and the team at Ecomak Recyclers, climate action must work for people and the place, not just for the planet.
And what do you like to do when you're not working?
I love taking vacations away from people. I love doing meditations, thinking about how my life would be in the next few years.
Exciting. Yes, I love them as well. Ronald, it's great to hear about the fabulous environmental transformation work that you've been doing. And I know your work has garnered several accolades, including winning the 2022 Climate Launchpad Nationals in Uganda and receiving Changemakers seed funding. Yeah, you're definitely a mover and shaker, and it's fabulous to have you on the lens. So I'm going to come back to you in a minute, but I'm going to dig deeper into Principality now with Iain. I couldn't believe it when you said Principality was on the go for 165 years. And I'm just wondering what the next 165 years looks like for you. I was really interested to hear about keeping the branches open, because that's so rare these days. So talk to me a little bit about that, and also tell me about how you're going to grow, innovate, and maintain that community presence.
Yeah, thank you. So like our branch network is like a fundamental part of the DNA of our business over the last 165 years. Our heritage was, and I use the word heritage because I think it's really important that we are a Welsh headquartered business, but in reality, we're a UK player. And I think it's important to play that. But our heritage was in Wales, and we started in Cardiff 165 years ago. Our branch network is mostly in Wales and across the borders, across Chester, Hereford and Shrewsbury. So across the borders into England. It's really important. We're part of the community. It is how we show members our presence, show our investment in the communities we're in. It's a unique selling point for us as larger and different banks and other financial services close on the high street. We believe there is an important role for us to play in the community to bring prosperity onto the high street. And we're happy to commit to our locations and have done on 2 previous locations. It's unique for us because it also brings in, as other banks and building societies to make different decisions on branches. We have the ability to, talk to colleagues who've worked for other high street banks and building societies, and we also have the potential for those people who want a branch-based account to come and come to the Principality, which we're happy for all the time. So, intrinsic upon how we grew up as an organisation is our presence in the community, and it's broader than just being a branch. We provide access to cash. We provide the ability for people to talk to our colleagues. Some people just come in and want to talk to us as well. And I think that's really essential. But we are also a beacon on the high street for hopefully other investment to take place. And continue with prosperity on the high street, which I've got to admit is quite challenging at the moment. The springboard point then, I think, Sarah, that you talk about is, so that's looking back and looking forward. But what we need to also do is be a modern mutual and be bold in our transformative view of the future. Just having branches won't be the solution for our business over the next generation. And we need to ensure that we have a tip-top digital presence to give people, both who attend our branches, the option to be able to do things at home or on the move, but also the way to continue to grow our franchise across the rest of the UK. So we would do that through digital presence. We are just embarking on the introduction of a mobile app to our customers, and hopefully that will be live in 2026. But the digital transformation will be broader than that. We need to embrace automation, artificial intelligence, and lots of other things through our front, middle, and back office of our organization to be truly competitive into the future. So what we need to do as Principality is balance heritage by having this fantastic branch network, but give future customers and existing customers and younger people who want to be attracted to our franchise the ability to transact with us in modern ways. And I think sometimes as a mutual or a bank, you can compare yourselves to other mutuals who are highly successful and other banks. But in reality, customers, and that's really, really important to us, customers are using Amazon or other digital means to buy things or experience. And customers' expectations are being reset by, a digital age. And we need to ensure that we stay well, I say ahead of that, at least keep up with that.
Yeah, I mean, what's really obvious here is that you're not afraid of change. Change is happening, whether we like it or not. But you are bringing people and communities along with you, not just imposing the change on them and leaving them to sink or swim. You're bringing them with you.
And Sarah, just on that one, it's quite interesting. The economics of our business at the moment depend on our branch network as well. So it's part of our purpose. It's part of what we want to do, which is to be in the communities that we've historically been in. But the economics of our business are in favor of branches as well. So, as we drive optionality, it's really important, optionality through digitization. We can't lose sight of that as well. So there's an economic benefit back to our members of that as well.
Yeah, and if we talk about the staff as well, it's one thing having your members or your customers, but the 1,200 people that you talked about there, there's a lot of plates spinning at the minute. And, we'd love to hear how Principality keeps the staff in mind too. How can you keep all of those plates spinning to ensure a great culture, protect nature and the environment, and just be a good corporate citizen, but also making the money work?
Yeah, no, look, it's really essential, right? So culture is the number one focus for us. So how do we engender through our colleagues the ability to be able to transform our business? Because everything is moving so quickly around us. We can't just sit back and expect business to come to us. We need to fight for it. We need to scrap almost to ensure that we get the business that we need. But colleagues are essential to that. 150 of our 1,200 people sit on the front line in our branches, providing great customer service every single day. We've got, people representing us in front of brokers for mortgages or a commercial lending business on the street. But I think, what do we do specifically with our colleagues? We've got multiple routes of engagement. And since I've started as CEO, we've tried to do those through multiple means. So really informal, literally just come to my desk and have a chat to me. So if we're in the office, you know where I sit, just come and talk to me. If I'm not in a meeting, I'll try and make time for people to informally engage. We've then introduced a sort of a series of other routes of engagement. So we get together 25 people every other month to have a slice of pizza, just with me and other members of the exec to talk informally. We had our annual results in early February or in mid-February this year, and we did one of those relatively small informal gatherings with colleagues and just be able to talk about, any question. And I've just got this ethos that says, ask me anything about anything and I'll give you an honest response. And I think that does engender a positive adult-to-adult culture. And then we've got more formal things that we do. And then more broadly, we have opportunities for our exec to have more structured time with a small group of colleagues, and even our board having time with our colleagues. And those are then fed back into board and committees, and we have a colleague voice. And I think it's really important that we have colleague voice at all levels in our organisation. And I think the point here sometimes is when you lead an organisation of the size of Principality, you can't get it right all the time as well. And I think there's a point that's saying that you can't make a culture work for everybody. But what you try and do is get the culture working for as many people as you possibly can. I think to your point, Sarah, we're still a business that needs to make a commercial return at the end of the day to help more people into homes or to help more people saving. So, we're trying to take as many people in our organisation with us. But transformation for some people is about change, and change for some people is scary. I've done a job and I've done this job for days or weeks or months. And, some of that will change as we introduce more digital capability. So how do we keep that really informal, but also formal listening routes for our colleagues to ensure that we embed the culture that we want? But that culture needs to work for the majority of people, and it may not work for everybody. Just some expectation from me.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping those communication channels open as you grow. It's a real challenge. So maybe a masterclass there on how to do it. Ronald, your business is, of course, also working across people, planet, and place. We know because of the nature of the business that the environment is absolutely at the core of your business purpose. What are your feelings at the minute on the environment and climate transformation in the world today?
Myself, I think our business, what we do contribute in planet transformation. First of all, we help transform plastic waste that could be ending up in landfills or even burned in open spaces in different communities. To that, we currently have 4 factories processing these low carbon construction materials across Uganda in different cities of the country. We've been able to we're able to collect 500 tons of plastic waste annually that we do process and make over 3 million low carbon construction materials. This shows you how much our business helps the planet, because just imagine if the 500 tons of plastic waste ended up in landfills, the impact and effect it would create. So if you look at the people perspective, we realize that in the communities where we work, majority of the people in these informal communities earn less than $1 per day. So what we do as a business is we offer people employment, that is through waste collection, sorting, grading, factory work, marketing, sales, and the like. And as a business, we've been able to employ over 700 people across the country, something that is really important and very good. Looking at the perspective, our business operates on community level. So everything we do as a business is done locally. We do collect plastic waste locally. We do the sorting, the processing locally, the manufacturing locally. Going back to the communities that we work with, we also do community engagement. So, for example, we've done projects in tree planting, we've done projects, wash projects, we have done energy projects. This is in turn in a way of giving back to the communities that we work with and ensure that we have a benefit for all the city perspectives, the planet, people, and place.
So you're tackling climate, you are addressing unemployment and poverty. You've got to make money as well too, Ronald. So I'd love to find out a little bit about, at the end of the day, there's no point in doing it if it's not a viable business. But how do you balance bringing in the money with also the great work you're doing with healthcare and schooling in your local communities? How are you using your money for the greater good?
What we realized is the communities that we work in, or the communities that we are involved in, people really need these services. For example, different refugee settlements, you find there are so many kids who can't afford going to school because they have no school fees. Pregnant mothers who can't give birth because they can't afford the maternity fees in different hospitals. So what we do is we work with different health facilities and schools. And in this, so we introduced what we call, it's an insurance model. So we call it ECOMAK Insure. So here, different households collect their plastic waste, and then they give it us through schools and hospitals. So once these households give us the plastic waste through the EcoMak Insure program, they are able to subscribe. They are given tokens. So these tokens can be subscribed as fees in different health facilities. They can be subscribed as fees in schools, and this has been able to help different community members benefit from the program. Going back to how we work with different from the issue. We partner with hospitals and schools to ensure that we collect the plastic waste. Yeah, so school-going kids bring the plastic and deposit it in their schools, deposit it in different hospitals or clinics, and then we collect this. So once we collect this, we are also able to give donations to the hospitals in form of money or even giving them low construction.
So let's explore innovation in the context of how you're trying to develop your business. What does innovation mean for your business? And if you can give me a good example of how it's working, and crucially, I'd love to understand what role collaboration plays in that.
Yeah, look, it's a great question. So innovation. So to me, where do I start from on this? I think any business that just says I can sit still in the environment that we live in today is in reality in a different place, right? Because the world is moving at pace. We can just see that when you pick up or read the news, and even pick up a paper at the weekend. The speed of change in our society is dramatic. The speed of technology shift is even greater. And I think, part and parcel of the role of a leader, to me, is to ensure that we are listening and hearing from lots of different thought leadership from outside our own business, so we understand what is going on and then find what is relevant for us. I mean, I've talked about AI, automation and digitization from our business perspective. We've focused on giving an amazing customer service to our colleagues through predominantly our branch network, but we need to innovate to give the branch-like service to our digital customers. And how do we do that? So it's not just a very simple and easy and frictionless digital service that some people want, but indeed it gives a feel for the amazing service that we win awards over from branch. And how do we innovate to do that over time? So it's part and parcel of what we're trying to do at every point in time. I also think from as we come in as a new CEO into the Principality. So my job is to sort of to reimagine the role of Principality and be bold around the thinking, such that we are relevant not for just tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, but how are we relevant for the next generation of people who want to save with us or want to come with us because we help them purchase their dream home. So I think it is part and parcel of my job. What we also want to do in our organization, and it links a little bit, Sarah, to the point around colleague and customer. So our members have the ability to be able to give us feedback at any point of our current customer journeys. And how do we innovate and change and listen to what they're saying such that we can improve our service? I think that is like micro innovation. It's listening to people who are actually going through the customer journeys we've got and making those changes. And I think it's also then listening to our colleagues and saying, well, actually, we could do this better, or there's a more straightforward way of doing this, and how do we do it? I think the challenge in all of that, and I think being in business, right, it's easy to talk about all of the good things and the things that we just need to do. There's always a prioritization lens then to be put over things. And I think this is sometimes the most difficult things for business. If you've got a broad, exciting transformation agenda, like we do have at the Principality, we need to ensure that we've got the bandwidth to be able to deliver some of the innovation that I've talked about, and to be able to deliver that to customers at a bit of pace and speed. Because as I said, the world is moving around us at a quicker pace than we can probably cope with at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you also said, people adapt to change, some quicker than others as well. Ronald, you're nodding away in the background there as Iain's talking about that. So in terms of innovation for your business, I suppose thinking about your customers as well as the people you work with, can you give us an example of innovation and how you have innovated within your company and what collaborations have taken place as part of that?
For us as a business, we started our innovation by turning plastic waste into construction materials. You realize we have so many traditional construction materials that are made from clay, which is out of swamps. So myself, being an engineer by profession, I thought I would be able to innovate, turn plastic waste that would end up in the landfills into construction materials. This is something that has really helped communities in a way that our construction materials are quite cheaper, they're 2 times stronger, and they're actually more durable compared to the materials in the community, in the other construction materials in the markets. And then so through working with different communities, we realized that we not only give employment or pay people for every kilo of plastic waste they collect, how best can we? So that's why we introduced in the ECOMAK Insure program. So in this, we wrote this in a way that people can collect plastic waste, people can get tokens, and through tokens, people can be able to go and subscribe, and they could be able to pay for school fees, health dues, or even pay for anything at the supermarket. Yeah, so in this way, we were able to see how innovation works. And then looking at collaboration, of course, as a business, we can't continue if we don't do collaboration. So we work with community members, such as wood aggregators who do the waste collection. We work with NGOs that fund different projects in communities. We also work with different institutions such as health facilities and schools.
Iain, you'd like to come in there?
Yeah, I was reflecting, what comments I gave and Ronald as well. And I think it doesn't matter what sector you work in, you have to be ahead of the curve. You have to be thinking not today, not tomorrow. And this point about looking into the future, the housing market in the UK and how you purchase a house, and for people that's like the biggest investment they'll probably make in their lifetime. The process isn't straightforward at the moment, and I think lenders, mortgage businesses, building societies, we just need to almost be tireless in how do we make that more straightforward for customers as we possibly can. And I just think almost like that is the mission. The mission for me from a mortgage is how do we make home ownership as straightforward for people as possible and accessible for all, and how do we make it such that you can create savings habits for people because that little bit of buffer. And it's almost like innovation is part and parcel of the everyday piece. You need to look forward. Otherwise, the business model that we have, just doesn't matter whether it's my example or Ronald's example, it gets competed away, and we need to stay ahead of the curve continuously. And again, right, to balance all the comments here, that isn't always easy, right? Because people can move faster than you, have got a bit more competitive advantage than you have, or there's a different piece. But I think that is the role of a leader in this area. The point about innovation, right, is it being ever present in an organization, which isn't always easy because in some of the markets that we both will operate in, day-to-day trading is difficult, but you've almost got to be ahead of the game to be thinking about what's coming next. And I think that's really, really important. Otherwise, in a highly competitive world, which is mortgage and savings, people will come in and almost take your breakfast, right? So I think that's really important for us. The home ownership customer journey needs to change as well. Digital adoption. You think about the formwork through the stages of buying a home. It's quite manual at the moment. And how do we make digital interventions in that to innovate and speed it up?
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the stats from the One Young World website, Ronald, in terms of Ecomak Recyclers, your organisation. Incredible, really. You've created 750 jobs, assisted 150 households across 2 refugee settlements with accessing healthcare and schooling. You've produced and sold 15 million bricks recycled from plastic waste. You've planted 8,000 trees and distributed 200 energy-saving cooking stoves that are built using recycled eco bricks. You must be very proud of all you've achieved.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would say we really doing so much as a business. Anyway, that we just started in 2020, went through COVID, now past COVID, and times were not really good. But however, what really has helped us is working as a team, having different stakeholders to help us. For example, looking at the communities where we work, community members who do the collection of plastic waste, having a better team that does the innovation. For example, we started with plastic bricks. We now have 3 products, that is plastic bricks, plastic pavers, and plastic roofing tiles. So we've been able to diversify the product line across the years, and we've been able to collect as much plastic waste in the communities and then transform it into low carbon community construction materials as well. So really so much for us, but we couldn't do this without the different stakeholders that we work with: donors, funders, investors, specifically looking at the customers who actually buy the construction materials that we make. And then we are able to give back to communities in different projects, such as tree planting projects. We've given out bricks for cook stoves, a project that was funded by UNHCR. So we were able to help different people in different refugee settlements. Yeah, so it's really, I would say, a good step for us at the moment, and we hope to have better impacts as years go by.
I'm wondering at this point if you have any questions you'd like to ask each other. Iain, would you have a question for Ronald?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Look, it's been fascinating to hear about different people's stories in different parts of the world. So I've got 3 young children. Well, if they listen to this, they're 3 children, right? And I guess if they listen to this, they'll be inspired by you, Ronald. But what fundamentally inspired you in the first place to do and start this business and make a difference? So what was your fundamental inspiration to start?
So myself, I would say the communities that I come in from. So personally, I grew up in a refugee settlement, and looking at the situations that I grew up in, this is something that's really inspired me. Myself, I was lucky to go up to, I would say, university, attain my bachelor's degree. So after that, I thought, how best could I go back and live in the communities? Yeah, so that is something that has always inspired me. How best can I help the communities that I come in from? How best can I have products that can help to transform I would do the environment, communities, and So where I come from, and we're always wanting to give back to the communities that I live in.
Yeah, thank you.
Ronald, would you like to ask a question of Iain?
Yeah. So I really understand that your business, Principality, is one of the world's largest mutual building societies when I was doing my reading. So, and this is owned by its members as well, rather than shareholders. So my question is, how does that mutual structure influence the way you approach responsible transformation, particularly when balancing financial performance with long-term impact for people and the place?
Yeah, and it's a great question. It really is a great question, and it's one that we get asked a little bit around, what's the difference between your mutual ownership and potentially, equity ownership, and what difference does that make? It's a real simple answer. We can make longer term decisions. We don't have quarterly earnings requirement, and we can deploy our capital into the medium term rather than necessarily having to drive profit maximization strategies. So this is where, as you come in as the new CEO into the organization, we have got the ability to be able to think out and develop and deploy our investment and our capital over the medium term. So the contrary, the bit that we've really got to be aware of, though, is that is not an excuse to not transform at the pace that we need to keep relevant. I think it gives us the ability to deploy at the pace that probably gets the right answer for our customers, but it shouldn't be used as an excuse in our business models there to therefore slow down that investment. So I think that's a real opportunity for us, but we need to hold ourselves to account to the ability to ensure the war was relevant, which is probably some of the answers I've given to some of the earlier questions.
You happy with that answer, Ronald?
Yes. Thank you so much, Iain.
Now, we'd love to hear a little bit of inspiration from each of you. If you could encourage our listeners to read one piece of research, one report, maybe a book, maybe a podcast, whatever, that has inspired you to be a more responsible business leader, what would it be? Iain?
So can I give a couple here? So one piece of research really relevant to our business, and what I'm really passionate about is ensuring that everybody can save, a little bit to ensure that they've got some element of resilience fund. And Principality sponsored together with the Building Societies Association, that's our trade body, and Bristol University, put some research together, understanding the role of savings in building long-term financial security. And I think it's quite inspirational. The percentage of people in the UK that have less than £200 is savings, it is worrying. It's a very, very big percentage. But also what the research effectively picks out is that if you can actually get to the point where you have £2,000 worth of savings, then the fundamental odds of then not falling behind when you have one-off expenditure that comes through is really important. So I would start with that piece of research, co-authored by the Building Society Association, Bristol University and us. And then just more broadly, as like a leader in an organisation, I go straight to the Rest is Politics and the Leaders podcasts, that if you have walk or you're on the bus or you're on the train or you quite frankly just have got half an hour or 45 minutes as you're either coming in and out of work or at home, they are inspirational. So Alistair and Rory in Rest is Politics, and the interviews that they do under the Leaders as a subset of Rest and Politics, I think are truly inspirational and really are thought leadership for people who are current leaders and for those people who aspire to be leaders in the future.
Definitely, although we'll keep the politics out of everything at the moment. There's an awful lot going on in the world. Ronald, what would your recommendations be?
Myself, I would recommend a book. It's called The Slight Edge. That's by Jeff Olson. What I love about the book is, like it says, the slight edge, it emphasizes achieving different goals step by step. So, and growth is not really something that comes in just one day, but something that's built day by day. So that's a book I would encourage people to find out and read. And then a report, of course, looking at what we do. We have a recent report it's called the Global Plastics Outlook. It's by Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. She really brings out how plastic waste is really the impact of plastic waste in communities and how much different organizations have achieved in having this problem solved.
Great recommendations. Thank you, Ronald. Now, the final question we ask of all the guests on the Lens. As responsible leaders, what are you personally committed to doing more of, or indeed less of, in the coming year? Ronald?
So myself, currently, I'm really committed to building my businesses to ensure that my businesses grow, because looking at the impact we've created specifically in the few communities we work with, I hope if we are able to scale and expand the business across sub-Saharan Africa, that would be something, the impact would be really very huge. Really committed to seeing my businesses grow and impacting many communities and many people.
Iain?
Yeah, pretty simple for me. As a new CEO into Principality, spending time out and about with customers, members, brokers, suppliers and colleagues, say doing more and more of that to bring the voice of all of those really important stakeholders back into our business. And then secondly, just trying to do that in a way that I can also be a dad and a father and like a husband as well, all at the same time. Just balancing that and ensuring that I get that balance right at the appropriate times.
That is the Holy Grail, after all. It has been a pleasure talking to you both today, Iain Mansfield and Ronald Mugaiga. Thank you so much for joining us on The Lens. I'm sure our listeners have really enjoyed your insight into responsible transformation, of course, with people, planet and place at the heart of all the transformation that is happening. You've been listening to The Lens with me, Sarah Travers, and if your business would like support to be stronger in supporting your people, the planet, or the places in which you're located, then please do check out the website www.bitc.org.uk. All the help will be there. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time.